Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to have a little look at the Dark Eldar / Drukhari. It's a cheeky little range review. We haven't done these guys yet, which is ridiculous, because this is one of the best ranges that Games Workshop does. Genuinely, there is very little amongst these that I don't like. This is an army that I have kind of coveted for a long time, that I've always wanted to dabble with, but never felt like I would be able to in any way paint them to a decent standard. Now that I feel like my painting's improved, I'm not going to lie, it's on the cards. Not now. Got plenty of other stuff to be getting along with, but in the future, I could see it happening. We're going to start off with Drazar, because new and shiny. We like the new and shiny, and also just a very good model. He does have the mild disadvantage of being on a piece of rock on his base, but it's not quite as lackluster as a lot of the hero pose stuff that we see at the moment. He, for a start, is on 2 pieces of very nicely inscribed rock, and there's like a nice sense of movement from him. The fact that his like necklace of shattered spirit stones and the cloth on his armor is kind of in the process of settling down kind of lends the idea that he has jumped and is landed on this. It's like a not fully in motion, but just come to a halt sort of pose, which I do quite like. The something that I don't think I noticed the first time we looked at this model, the hair coming out the back of the helmet. There's a nice kind of scorpion thing going on there with the armor plating over the top of it. Also, armor plating your hair is, that is dedication that few can match. It's just a really solid model. I do like the fact that the Eldar tradition of biggest hat, biggest importance is still alive and well among the Drukhari, because Drazar has got one hell of a hat there. There's some serious horns going on. It is just a solid model all round, I think. Yeah, he looks good. Also, I love how over the top hardcore it is, having literal swords coming out of your back. That's, again, solid choice by Drazar and the Incubi as a whole. I can't say that these don't look good, because they look like Drazar and he looks solid. There's the nice little touches like the extra spikes on the lower part of the legs on some of them. I like that. I have absolutely no idea whether a weapon that is 2 swords end to end is actually feasible. If you are a sword fighting person and you know about these things, then do let me know in the comments whether that is actually feasible, viable, or whether it's just a complete waste of time. It's the thing with Darth Maul. Like, it looks super cool. Is it as good as just holding one? Or holding one in each hand? I don't know. I'm not a Jedi. I can't answer that question. But it's a question that equally applies to exactly this. But again, really, really solid models. These, I really like them. The combination of the horns on the heads and the blades on the back, it all adds up to something that's quite intimidating. Not just because it's horns and spikes, but it lends a very kind of aggressive silhouette to these guys, which I really like. There's also like little bits of detail, like the armor itself. I mean, this is something that's true of the range as a whole. The armor isn't overly busy, but because it's got those kind of overlapping segments, it's visually interesting without being too busy or too overblown. It's a good look. It is a good look, which is just as well because it's fairly prevalent. But yeah, I really like the Incubi as well. Now, the Mandrakes, these are some of my favourite models out of this range. I think they've done these super, super well. The kind of like ethereal fire kind of approach on the hands. It's not overdone. It's not overblown. It's not like all over the model. It doesn't spoil the lines or the shape of the model at all. The runes that are carved into the skin are done really nicely. It doesn't look too deep. Again, it's not too busy. If it was on every part of the skin, it might look a bit much, but because they've kept it to the chest and one arm and a bit on the legs, the fact that they've shown that it's on the legs but not shown the legs as a whole, I really like that, because again, it tells you that it's there, but it's not overdone. It's not too much to take in. the weapons are super brutal, and they just look... I mean, the fact they just look like normal metal swords without any fancy stuff somehow makes them a bit more terrifying than they would be otherwise. The only criticism maybe that I'd have is, like, the cloth is a little angular in places, but then I don't know that that's really an issue. It's certainly not enough to like, spoil anything. And it's offset by how kind of nicely done the rope is that's holding that cloth around the waist. They look really good. They look really good. Now, the Ravager and the Raider, I'm not a massive fan of, but I can at least appreciate. It's just me. This is just like a personal, like very much a personal thing, as is all of this stuff with the range reviews, to be honest. But the only issue I have with some of the, like, Eldar vehicles, and just, I guess some of the Xenos vehicles as a whole, because some of the Tau stuff has the same problem. It looks, obviously, lightweight and fast. It does not look heavily armoured, which I'm much more of a... I much prefer, like, the heavily armoured look. That's why I like Dreadnought so much. They're just big boxes of walking armour. These are obviously a lot more elegant than your standard Imperium box, but they also look paper thin. Like, paper thin. It looks like if you shout at these a bit too loud, they will immediately just crumple in the air. That being said, they are really, really nicely done. I don't like them necessarily, but I feel like they're very well executed. You know exactly what these are the second you see them. The moment you see a Ravager or a Raider, you know that this is Dark Eldar all over. The actual hull style and stuff really fits the armour that the infantry wear. It's got similar design elements spread across all of it, which, to be honest, I think is genuinely a little bit of a challenge to do, but they've done it super well with the Dark Eldar. I think, yeah, they're not vehicles that I personally like all that much, but I can still appreciate how well done they are and how perfectly they tie into what is actually quite a wide range of styles for the Dark Eldar. By the way, we're just going to switch randomly between Dark Eldar and Drukhari, depending on whether I remember to use one name or the other. So enjoy that. That's going to be annoying for you. Now, the Razor Wing and the Void Raven, these are borderline perfect models for me. I think I said that the Eldar aircraft are like some of the best looking aircraft in 40k. I mean, these two are right up there. They're right up there. They look sleek, they look dangerous, there's still a nice amount of like of really kind of fancy design, especially on the cockpit of the Void Raven. All those little bits coming over the canopy of the pilot in the front section, it just looks so good. It looks so good. It's such a nice aircraft. It looks, I mean, well, maybe not that side angle. Well, I'd say no, it still looks stealthy. It's just dropping something, which, you know, kind of spoils the lines a little bit, but it just looks so sleek. So sleek and curved and just, so perfect. So nicely done. I wish there was more angles of the Razor Wing, though. Come on. Let's see more of it. God, it's so good. So good. That's hot. Right, okay, what else have we got? That's a really nice colour for those as well. Oh, yeah. No, that's... Look at it. That is class. It looks dead good. Looks dead good. Okay, now the Talus and the Chronos, both of these are quality. They're so weird. Absolute freaks. Freaks of nature right here. I love it. I love it. This is one of the things that makes Dark Eldar so cool. These weird, homunculus monstrosities. These amalgamations of, like, what used to be people and weird, creepy technology. Plus, take one of these, slap the body on Belisarius' Call, where his body would be, and you have got a prime Dark Mechanicus, like Archmagos there. It's just so creepy and weird. And the fact that it floats, instead of walks, makes it so much worse. Makes it so much worse. The heads as well, by the way. Really, really cool heads. Love a bit of alien weirdness on the head of monstrosity. Especially that one. The blank faceplate when the rest of it is weird tentacles and it has actual like knives sticking out of the carapace. It's just so perfectly done. Horrible. Now talking of horrible freaks, we've got the racks, which are weird. Okay, yeah, okay. So with the Talus and the Chronos, because of the size of them, for some reason they feel like they work a little bit better than the racks. I can never really pin down exactly what part of the racks it is that I'm not sure about. I think it might just it might be the waists. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing, because they've got like these little pinched corset waists, right? I think it's that, because they're obviously very drawn. There's a lot of like they look very gaunt, very kind of muscled, but also a bit kind of skinny at the same time. They've got various enhancements, which obviously, you know, it's what you'd expect from the lads, but I think it's the extreme pinched in waists that kind of mess me up a bit with these. The silhouette looks a bit too top heavy, and I think it's almost entirely because of that. I mean, of course, there are things like the weird bony growth bits that are all over them. Those probably not helping a huge amount. Wow, Games Workshop's site is having some issues, isn't it? It's the slowest load I've ever seen. Maybe, I don't know if it is that then. Because actually, yeah, from the side, you've got the horrible, like, organic backpack style thing there. Oh, I don't know. Can't pin it down. I do. It's weird because I like them, but there's just something off about them that isn't the fact that they are horrendously modified actual freaks. Like, that bit doesn't bother me. There's just something about the silhouette that is just not quite right. I think it's got to be that kind of pinched waist that's going on there. That's the only thing I can think that it is. They are horrendous, though. I do like the fact that those bits of armour, though, like that bit of armour on the waist, and then you've got the bits across the like on the hips on a couple of them. It's still the same style of armour. It's still that kind of segmented plate, which I really like. They are very different to, you know, your standard Dark Eldar troops, but there are elements that are held over. I love the fact he's got a smaller head, like a little tiny head attached to his head. Oh, it's so weird. That's somehow more gross. The skin being painted a different colour makes them weirder somehow. Yeah, I don't know. The racks are cool, don't get me wrong, but there's just the silhouette is just off, and it's not just off in a they look a bit weird sort of way. It just bothers me just a tiny bit. Other than that, though, they look horrendous in the best possible way, I should point out. This is the thing as well with the Dark Eldar. You never know what you're going to get. What I did was I loaded everything up, so I've got the entire range all set up in my browser, and then I switched all the tabs around, so I didn't know what I was going to come across. Because that's one of the great strengths of the Dark Eldar range. You go from from sleek bomber to floating abomination to walking abominations, and then there's this guy. Not even just something totally different, something completely different to anything that you've seen before. And again, I really like this model. It's really cool. So this is an Urghul and Ghoul, G-U-G-H-U-L. You take your pick on how you want to pronounce that. I'm not going to judge you. I can barely talk English, so which is a shame because it's the only language I know. But I did these little weirdos. It feels like that describes so much of the Dark Eldar range. I really like that. Again, it's so different from like anything else. it is like a little alien freak, but it's not a Tyranid. It doesn't look like a Tyranid. It's not like, it doesn't even look like a Gene Stealer-esque Tyranid. It has its own distinct place, which is out of place amongst everything else. But for some reason, the way that the Dark Eldar range works, where you've got so many of these different variations of weirdness, this is like, oh, what the hell is this doing here? Oh, wait, well, I suppose when you put it with a bunch of the other stuff, actually, it kind of fits. It kind of looks okay. Once again, you go from that to... I mean, actually, that jump isn't too much. These skinless abominations with their scorpion stingers, the exposed, like, musculature, the fact that the head has got no meat on it, but it's got, like, 18 eyes. These are badass models. These are quality. I absolutely love these. These are so good. They really are. They really are. There's a really cool amount of detail, and again, it's just so different from anything else you find in any of the other ranges. And it doesn't just look like a demon as well. It doesn't just look like a demon. It has its own place, its own personality. Creepy and weird. Then I was hoping to just get away with not saying the name, but I was like, well, I suppose I should actually say what it's called. Chimerae. Sure. I love them. Whatever they're called. Love them. Okay, so Beastmaster. Funnily enough, you would imagine being somewhat related to to these two, and I like the nods. I like the nod to the these lads. I'm not going to say it again. All right, I can barely say the word Chimerae. The fact that he's got that skull helmet with the multiple different eyes on it, it just ties it in nicely. He's not a happy looking fella. You know, you got to be honest. He doesn't look entirely thrilled to be there. But then again, if you're trying to herd a bunch of these around, you wouldn't be happy about that, would you? He looks angry, and probably like, oh dear God, if if my little hoverboard dies, I'm gonna be up Poop Creek without nary a paddle. I just want to look at these guys. I want to paint them. Oh, they would take some dry brushing so well. They would take some dry brushing like you wouldn't believe. Oh, what? Okay, no. Moving on. The homunculus. The freak amongst freaks. This is, again, a really nicely done model. There's that really, like, disturbing mix of, like, technology and flesh that goes into these. Again, that kind of really pinched, thin waist, almost corset type look. The fact that he's being supported by this long, horrible tail that is also... It just looks like a worm as opposed to being anything else. I really like the fact that he's got the bionic forearm and elbow there, but the hand on the end is still organic. It just makes it so much worse. It makes it so much creepier and like experimental, the fact that the hand is still organic, but most of, like, part of the arm is not. It's super well done. The fact that there's that other, like, one of the other arms that's been grown out is, again, like, partially organic, partially mechanical. It's just a horrible mix of stuff. It's just super well done. The fact that the, like, skin cloak as well has the like the staples holding it together, those are actually, like, molded into the model, makes a huge difference, I think. Because when it comes to stuff like that, the concept is awesome, but I feel like it's an intimidating thing to approach as a painter if you need to do the stitching yourself. Like, if the official artwork is like, oh, look at the stitched coat, and then you find, oh, it's not stitched in the plastic, it's just, I've got to do that bit yourself, that's off-putting. Having it, like, that way is way better. Way better for everyone. And of course, if you wanted to make it just a normal cloak, although why you would do that, I don't know, you could just file down the staples. If you wanted to give him like a fancy pimp cloak. Although why would you do that? When it's held onto his chest with hooks that are sewn into his skin. Ugh! Hellions. Let's get on to something a bit less gross and disturbing. Again, I like these a lot. There's a really good sense of movement on these. I'm not a big fan of like bare feet on models, but I feel like they work for these specifically. There's some cool heads in here as well, like the kind of variation in hair and stuff is cool. The fact that they've got these trousers that have got the like the gaps in the side. There's some interesting choices in these guys. It just gives them a lot of personality. They just look like daredevil types, like thrill seekers. The fact that I don't know what they're called, the things they're standing on. I keep wanting to say hoverboards, but that just thanks to the fact that now there are things called hoverboards that don't hover. If it's on two wheels, you're not hovering. It's just a board on wheels. Don't call it a hoverboard. It makes me I don't like the fact those exist with that name, because when you see something like that, it's like that feels like some sort of hoverboard type thing. But you can't say it because that's a real thing that exists now that doesn't do what it says on the tin at all. Lies and slander. The hoverboard. Also, the ears on the necklace on that one. Quality. Love it. They look so good. Similarly, Scourges. The segmented armour on these is really nice. It feels like elongated, which I think it probably is due to the long legs on these guys. The wings are really nicely done. The fact that there's a variation of wing as well. You've got like the kind of bat-style wing, and then you've got the more like avian wings. Some of the helmets are super cool. Like those helmets they're so well done. They're so good. There's just so much like individual personality amongst a lot of these. You know, they might have the same role, they might do the same things, but there's customization all over the place. Some of them just got plain wings, some of them have got armor on the wings, some of them have got like a particular shape to the mask, but others have got feathers in one place that others don't. It feels like everyone is a bit individualistic. There's no like unifying vision of, okay, this is your uniform, this is what you wear. Instead, everyone's got something a little bit different. It's the same thing with these guys and the fact that the hoverboards are slightly different. When you look at them, no two of them are identical. They are slightly different. They are personalised. It looks like there is a preference there, where each rider is like, I want that. I'm going to change it to look like this. I don't know. There's just so much personality amongst these models. They work together as like a cohesive unit, but they all look that little bit different. Okay, the Venom. The Venom I actually like a lot more than like the Ravager or the Raider. I think probably because the Venom is closer to things like the Void Raven. It's more sleek looking, and whilst it is still paper thin, as it would be, it just looks that little bit more sleek and fast moving. It looks like, I mean, both that and like the Raider, they're like, well, as the name suggests, raiding vehicles. They're fast moving, kind of lightning assault vehicles that zip in, grab people and fly off. But it just feels like the Venom looks a little more capable of that. It looks faster, I guess. But again, it's a really cool unit. Your standard Cabalite warriors, I think, is some of the best looking standard troops as well. Again, going back to that kind of segmented armor where they don't look crowded or overdone, but there's some nice detail in there. With a bit of that like edge highlighting, you end up with a really nice looking unit, but it's not an assault on the eyes. It's not like there's way too much going on. They're just visually interesting, all of them. The helmets aren't my favourites, to be honest. I prefer some to others. The ones with like actual hair coming out the top, I much prefer to the rest. But overall, again, they're really good looking models. I really do think that this is one of the more solid Rangers. Yeah, I don't know. The helmets with just like a spike coming out the top don't have the same visual impact as the ones with like hair. They just that just feels more finished, more rounded to me. Reavers look quality. Absolutely no complaints about the Reavers at all. They're super good looking units. Really nicely done models. They look quick. They look dangerous. The addition of like the bladed segments at the back and under the like base of the bike. Again, they are all slightly different. There is that feel of customization and personal preference in there. Although actually, yeah, no, they are. There's like obviously similarities, but there is that kind of individual nature again. The Razorwing flock again, like a bit random, just showing up, bunch of animals, but bunch of little crows. They've been painted to have sort of razory wings. Maybe could do a slight update. There's a little bit of like lack of definition on some of the details there. No idea how old these are, but they look okay. But again, it's like just that random thing of, oh, what the hell is this? Oh, well, of course it's there. It's Dark Eldar. The Larmian is a really good model. Again, I'm probably pronouncing that totally wrong. Larmian? Lemayan? Lhamaean. Some of the most unpronounceable names for the Dark Eldar. Super good looking model though. Really good looking model. Threatening, arrogant, aristocratic almost. Yeah. Quality. So this lad, the Slith, again, Slith. Make the S as long as you like. Such a good model, so random. Like, it would not fit anywhere other than Dark Eldar. You could not just place this in any army. It only works in the Dark Eldar force. And I'm not just saying that because there's Dark Eldar style armour on it. There's just already such a menagerie of beasts and weird stuff in this range that, you'd see this, and in isolation it's like, that's a four-armed snake that is bigger than a person. What the hell is going on? With the Dark Eldar, you'd see it and you're just like, oh cool, a four-armed snake that's bigger than a person. It's super well done. It's a super cool model, but it would just be so random anywhere else. In fact, you might even say that it's a bit random anyway, but I love it. It's so good. It's just so mad, but it's so good. I really like the pose on it as well, like that kind of leaned back aspect to it. I love it. I have to admit, I think Urian Rakarth is aging not brilliantly in some respects, but aging pretty well in others. Getting on a little bit this model now. I think the awful, like, biological backpack that's going on there, that still looks good. It's so creepy and weird, and there's too many joints, and the joints are in weird places, and it's really gross. The actual model as a whole looks okay. The kind of sewn together skin apron down the front is getting on a bit now. The main issue is that tentacle at the bottom that's holding them up, like just like the standard homunculus. That does not look great anymore. It doesn't look well. I don't know, well made. It's a bit too angular, but at the same time, it doesn't look like it's supposed to look angular. It's kind of hard to describe. It doesn't fit quite as well, I don't think. It's a bit unclear as to exactly what's going on with it. It just looks dated compared to the rest, which is actually, I think, a pity, because the model overall is still horrifying. It's still horrendous to look at. It's still creepy. It's mostly held up well. It just starts to get more shaky, like below the waist, so to speak. The succubus still looks decent. Still looks like a decent model. The hair is maybe a little bit lacking. it's a bit too fake. There's not enough definition going on there, but the rest of it is pretty decent, if slow. I say as well, there's elements of this paint job that feel a bit plain. Like it might just be the angle at which it was photographed, but the skin looks not quite of the skin and hair don't look quite of the standard that you tend to get on the display models. To be fair, the hair might look a bit better if there was a bit more depth and definition to the painting. So maybe judging it off that is a bit harsh. Yeah, maybe saying that about official Games Workshop painting is a bit harsh. That's probably a fair comment, but overall looks decent. The grotesque. The grotesque is, again, pretty horrific. The big old, like, implanted power supply things sticking out of the what maybe would have once been the shoulder blades. Who knows? Because it's been altered so much. I don't know what it is. They give it such a horrific look. The random growth of the claw coming out of the back there, it's terrible. The fact you've got those two spinal cords. One I'm assuming is the original, which has been like grown out, and another one that's been like wedged next to it somehow. Oh, the bone sticking out of the elbow, which is a detail I don't think I've ever noticed before. Awful, horrible, properly horrible. It's great. Look at it. Although why they couldn't just give him boots, I don't know. That's a weird detail. The fact that there's still stuff on the sole of the foot. Just give him a shoe. It'd be way easier. Oh, creepy. And then we get to the clawed fiend, and it's like, oh, we're back to the weird beasties again. Oh god, it's just so good. It's so good. This stuff had better not ever go away. If Dark Eldar, say if they get a new codex, when they get a new codex for 9th, if Games Workshop suddenly go, no weird beasties for you, I'm gonna riot. I'm gonna full on riot. They're such good models. They're so interesting and different, and they're just so unique compared to everything else. The Dark Eldar as a faction feel very unique compared to a lot of the other stuff. The addition of like the clawed fiend and the chimerae and the razor wings, the Urgul, and it just all adds up to something so separate. Yeah, I really like that. Far too many eyes again. And we're back to witches. I think that's the thing I love. You get that, and then witches. Just people in armour. Not even like heavy armour, just like leathers and a bit of shoulder plate here and there. The difference is so good. The contrast is great. I'm not a massive fan of some of the heads on the witches, but overall I really like them. Overall, it's a really cool unit. Again, lots of personalisation and customisation from warrior to warrior. Yeah, they look good. I especially like the some of the weapons they've got. Like that guy's sword that is also maybe a chain. It's kind of hard to tell. Whatever it is, it's spiky, it's serrated, it does not look like it's going to be good for your health. That head is super solid on the squad leader. That's a really cool head. The one with like the little bun pigtail things, I'm never sure whether I like it or not, to be honest. I'm always split. Like, does that look good or does it just look weird? I can't tell. Lilith Hesperax is, of course, probably going to be replaced. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see her new model tomorrow. But I think she's holding up all right. I have to admit, this is a model that like feels kind of 80s in a way. The detail of things like the hooks in the hair is really cool. Like, we're definitely going to get a new Lilith Hesperax, like I say, probably tomorrow. The daggers could do with a... Yeah, I'd like the daggers are a bit thick and a bit clunky. The pose itself is cool. The face is actually, like, That's a good expression. Like, that's been done really well. It's just been painted super well as well. Although the photo is a bit blown out, which is unfortunate. But yeah, overall, I think this has held up pretty well. It kind of does feel like from a different era. And weirdly, the lack of, the lack of armor in certain places actually makes it stand out a bit more from the rest of the Dark Eldar stuff. Like, it kind of fits a little bit less, which is, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Overall, pretty decent, though. Going to be really interesting to see what the new one looks like. And finally, we've got the Archon, which I like the model. I'm not a fan of the pose. I think there's a lot of really nice detail on here. Like, I like the skin cloak again. Looks really good. The kind of extra decoration on the armor itself is really nice. The head, can you get a different head? Let's have a quick look at the sprue. The sprue will tell us. Nope, single sprue. No extra head, unfortunately. The head I'm not sure about, but then I guess you could just replace the head with any helmet that you like the look of. The bone sword is cool. That's a nice touch. The way the skulls are kind of hanging off that blade over the back. Again, nice detail. It's just the pose for me. It looks a little bit awkward. Like, the rock that's being stood on is at a slight angle, so yeah, the feet are kind of pointed down. It's supposed to look imposing, but because of the gun and the sword in each hand, it just looks a little bit cluttered. It's a shame, really, because actually the rest of it is really solid. I wonder if you could... Let's have a quick look again. Yeah, so it is single... It is single sprue by the look of it. So legs go on the torso there. I mean, I guess you could try and repose it a bit. You'd have to use different arms, which would have different weapons. Maybe you could repose the arms. Bit of green stuff work, maybe, just to show off that armor a little bit more. Because yeah, the armor looks really solid. It's just a lot of it is hidden and kind of unnecessarily at that. It makes it look just too cluttered. But yeah, a bit of work needed. Not my favourite pose by far, but the actual model itself, if you could see more of it, would be grand. Tell you what, let's finish on that. Oh, look at it though. Look at it. Look at it, it's so good. That is the Dark Eldar, the Drukhari range review. Solid range. Properly solid range. Very little in there that I don't like. Really nice collection of models. Very unique collection of models. Lots of customization and individual details and all of this stuff. It's super well done. I really do like this range, and I hope that anything that does get updated doesn't get like changed too heavily, because I feel like for a start it's aging very well, a lot of the older stuff in here, but it also has a personality and a feel of its own that I wouldn't want to see them lose. You know, I wouldn't want to see things become a bit too bland or a bit too samey from one unit to the other, given the extent to which things are made more individual in squads. Yeah, solid range. Let me know what you think of all of that in the comments down below. What is your favourite Dark Eldar model from that range? Is there anything like that you particularly love about the thing you've chosen, or is it just a general kind of, it just looks class and that's why I like it? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to. Although it'd be nice if you did subscribe, because then I might learn to talk. And yeah, as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.